And welcome back. Happy Women's Day, everybody, especially if you've just joined us. And of course, we are celebrating once more this seminal day when some 20,000 women protested outside the union buildings in opposition to the nation's then passed laws. And the Women's Day is observed every year in South Africa in remembrance of the 1956 women's protest against the passed laws. And the 2024 Women's Month coincides with the country's commemoration of 30 years of democracy. And this, of course, allows for reflection on the path that South African women have walked since the advent of democracy. And today, a Women's Day is also used to draw attention to the issues still confronting women throughout South Africa. For more on the significance of the day, we joined virtually now by Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Minister Sindisiwe Chikunga. Thanks so much for your time and happy Women's Day, Minister.
Thank you for having us, Sakina. Happy Women's Day to all South Africans in general and women in particular. And happy Women's Day to yourself as well.
So, Minister, August is Women's Month in South Africa, and this is a result of this historic day where 20,000 women marched to the union buildings demanding an end to the dreaded pass laws of the day. But if we look at where we are today, commemorating 30 years of democracy, what do you think signifies our journey so far as women in South Africa?
Thank you very much for the question, Sakina. We have a lot to celebrate as women in South Africa. That we have taken our place, protected by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, on issues of equality, on issues of employment, on issues of human rights. We are there as women, on having a voice to air our views, but also to participate in government and where decisions get taken. That is what we are celebrating today, that we can take up positions that in the past were reserved for men. That is what we are celebrating today in South Africa, that we can actually say these are the challenges that we continue to face, and government, private sector, and everybody. We want you to take into account those and ensure that these receive attention. That is what we are celebrating in South Africa today. That we're able to say we're still the face of unemployment, the face of poverty. We are still having challenges of gender-based violence. This being said by ourselves as women, because we believe we are our liberators, is what we are celebrating today. That we've got legislations, we've got bills that are before Parliament, but those that have been signed by the President, including the Public Procurement Bill, for instance, Gender Equity Acts, and so on. These actually talk Domestic Violence Act. These are the legislations that are now there that we are celebrating because they aim to emancipate women. And therefore, it's been a long journey from where we are coming from and to where we are today. But the struggle for women emancipation is not over. In fact, it has to continue. And that we have today a department and a ministry that represent and stand for women, for youth and persons with disabilities. You sleep at night, you think about women. You wake up in the morning, you think about women. You say, what is it that I'm going to do for women today so that they can actually be emancipated? For us, that is an important benefit and gain that women can celebrate today.
And I'm sure, Minister, you would be aware, as someone who's still new to this particular portfolio, there has been a lot of flack against this particular ministry. But as you yourself point out, women, and especially black women, continue to be the face of poverty in South Africa. There are, of course, measures in place to address gender equality. But when you think about policies on financial inclusion, for example, the ability for women to access credit, to manage and mitigate risks, these are by and large lacking. So why is it then that, for example, women entrepreneurs have to partner, even in this day and age, with men for, the most part, before being heard by financial stakeholders, for example?
Just last night, I attended a dinner for business women here in Uppington. And amongst the issues that those women raised was exactly what you are saying, Sakina, and is a matter that is to receive our attention. Remember the president announcing the 3 priorities for this GNU government. Amongst them is inclusive economic growth. That inclusive economic growth has and must include women. And we are here as this department to advocate and to mainstream and to ensure that women grow and benefit. And therefore, we'll definitely be interacting with women in business to say what exactly are the issues, and will be going to financial institutions. If it means us sitting with those CEOs and boards on issues related to that, we're going to do that so that women too can access finances, both from the financial institutions and of course from the support that government can give to those small, medium enterprises. So yes, it is our mandate. Remember, we have a responsibility to lead on social transformation, on economic transformation, but on ensuring that women are empowered and to lead on, and that women are emancipated. And we do that through advocating, but also through streamlining. So what we also have said, even sitting in government, even in cabinet, to say whatever that is brought before cabinet, whatever cabinet memo that is brought that talks to any development, it has to explain as to how that is going to assist women, that is going to benefit women, that is going to impact on women. So even the things that are going to be done, we're not going to say empower, train women. The question that we'll be asking is to say, you have trained those women, and then what? So we will be looking for exit strategies after you have done everything, after you've incubated women, after they've actually gone and registered their companies and cooperatives. What then? That must be responded by everybody, including the private sector, including public sector, so that it's not just about training and then of course they go back home. We asked this question even from women who just came, 22 women who came from India, being solar mamas. And I said to them, thank you very much, they are here. Before we send others back to India, we have got to respond to the question of exit strategy. What about these women? And I'm very happy that, of course, we now have a team that is looking into that. And for sure, those women will actually be assisted in terms of developing their entrepreneurs, in terms of being absorbed in the market, so that when we send others, we have a clear program on what we do with them when they come back. And this is the question that we'll continue to ask, even in universities, that you have got so many women, we are happy they are more than men, but what then? What is going to happen when they complete? Whether it is vocational training, we'll be asking the question to say, yes, indeed, they've now been trained, they're artisans. What then? Who is absorbing them? So it's not going to be like we say we're sending them to colleges, FETs, and thank you very much. Whoever will be sending them, whether it's NSFAS, whether it's department, then they must tell us as to who is going to absorb them so that they don't come back and then join the generation of unemployed young persons. So indeed, it's a lot of work that we're going to do, and we are prepared to do that because that is the mandate that we have, that of advocating for women, including the finances that they require.
Speaking of advocacy and finances, if we look at government, Minister, for the longest time we've been hearing about gender-sensitive budgeting and gender-responsive budgeting. But how many departments are actually adhering to that as we speak?
I want to believe that there are departments that are adhering. What I think is not happening is them actually communicating that. I just want to say, for instance, you have got human settlement. They've got women, South African women in construction. And whatever that they do, they were actually testifying yesterday to say the minister, they have ensured that they are empowered and that when they allocate even units, housing units, they have some that are preserved for women. The Public Procurement Act gives us those powers to ensure that they are set aside. And that is exactly what we will be doing. We will be going to provinces and we'll be saying, departments, what are you doing? We will be going to different departments in the national sphere of government to say, Where is the set aside for women? Because now it is legislated. So we've got that authority to do it, and we will be busy doing exactly that. Indeed, there may have been some lapses somewhere, but I think a lot has actually been done for women. When I met the women yesterday, they are now talking about secondary challenges that they are meeting because they are already in business. And they are saying now that we are in business, these are the challenges that we are meeting and encountering at the level of implementation. And that for me is important because we're not talking about women joining and becoming entrepreneurs. We are now saying these are women who are entrepreneurs. But also we have said, even here in the Northern Cape at that dinner, I said to the Premier, I'm happy to be with these women, but I will be coming back again in August next year, or even before August next year. I will not want to meet the very same women because these will have grown up in terms of even gradings for their companies. And I want to meet the new women that you shall have produced from this August to next year's August. And we'll be setting even timelines, will be setting even targets for different provinces to say, this is what we're expecting. If it is 40% preferential procurement, if it is set aside that we expect, this is therefore the numbers that we're expecting from you. And therefore we're going to ensure that women benefit, young women benefit, women with disabilities benefit. That will also include the issue of employment of persons with disabilities, because I think all of us at that level, we're still not doing well, particularly if you put together government and private sector. We are at 1.4%, when in terms of the National Development Plan, by 2030, we're supposed to be at 10% of employment of persons with disabilities. We are going to increase this target to 3%. And we actually are going to be forcing everybody, because we've got the authority to do that, to say you are not going to employ unless you have met employ-abled persons, unless you have met this 3% of persons with disabilities employed. Whether you are at SABC, whether in the private sector, this has to be done because, of course, we've got law on our side. Mm-hmm.
And I must say, I'm very encouraged and I'm excited to hear what you are saying, Minister, because it's also got to do with the planning, the gender-sensitive planning, and actually tracking those targets. So be very happy to walk this path and track with you, because it's our responsibility as the fourth estate to also kind of have oversight and hold you accountable for where you are going. So I'm excited to hear that, because one of the other scourges, and the problems are many and they are complex. One of the other issues that we are dealing with, we are witnessing at the moment another distressing surge in teenage pregnancies in South Africa. And as we know, these are driven by various factors such as poverty, poor access to contraceptives in some instances. It's the gender inequalities, it's high levels of gender-based violence, inadequate sex education. As I say, it's very complex, but there needs to be a comprehensive approach to address these multifaceted drivers. So I want to engage you on this, Minister, because we have children at the age of 10 falling pregnant. That is a shame and a disgrace. So the Eastern Cape released some figures this week, and of the 4,000 teenagers that were pregnant and had given birth already from April this year, about 390 of those were between the ages of 10 and 14. Minister, this is your portfolio. What are we saying? What are we doing?
Indeed, Sakina, it is disheartening. The first thing that I believe we need to build is a family. 45% of children grow up in women-headed families, and there is no father figure in that family. So I think we've got to start there to say to our families, how do you socialize your child? And to bring on board other important institutions in our communities, the traditional leadership, the religious leadership, so that they too play their role. One of the things that we got to know about Sakina, we got to know them in Sunday schools when we were attending church, and the priests and the pastors were actually teaching us and socializing us on these values. The families being there, forming the foundation. And I think that is where we should start working together with other departments such as social development, working together with the institutions that are out there, the civil society, so that we bring back that which was good. You know, I feel so bad when I see a young girl on TV saying, I drink every day, saying I drink on Sundays or weekends, being not ashamed of saying that. And I think it's things that we need to bring back to say, these are the things that you can be proud of, but these are the things that actually take away your pride and whatever that is good about yourself. And I think these are the things that we're going to do, working together with the media. And I just want to say, and indeed, the issue of the family is important. I look back at where I grew up to say, I saw my mother playing her role. I saw my father playing his role. Both of them were so important in socializing me. But they sent me to church, and I attended the Sunday school, and the church was playing an important role in actually instilling in me, teaching me, not just preaching, because as a child, sometimes you don't listen to preaching, but actually taking me to classes and teaching me about that which is good. And I think that is what we want to bring back. And this is what we will be doing, working together with the institutions that are out there, including, of course, the media.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, Minister, but let me leave you with this. I take on board everything you've just said, but there are laws in this country. And when 10-year-olds are having babies, your ministry has to be at the forefront of making sure that people, if need be, are charged. Because if there's statutory rape taking place here, government needs to really be at the forefront, because evidently society is not taking the lead there. So unfortunately, we're out of time. But Minister, we're going to pick this up again, because I think it's a very important issue. But thank you so much for your time all the same this morning. Minister Sindisiwe Chikunga, the Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, speaking to us about the significance of Women's Day as the country commemorates 30 years of democracy.